Hello, welcome back to GMT's, A World at War. Back on the table instead of on the computer. Last time we mostly deployed everything. We did our boring stuff, the research and diplomacy. Not boring to me because I actually like that part of the game so far. And now that I kind of know a little bit more about how it's supposed to play, I definitely feel more confident with it, which is very important. But more importantly, I forgot to deploy some of the Russians. And we had a couple of, four units of infantry, nothing much, but might as well get them on the map. Kind of gearing up for a winter war here. And it's going to be a very big winter war because we have the max weather effects as we rolled last time. So the spot where we are in the sequence of play is essentially at the beginning of the Axis turn, the real part of the Axis turn, I should say. We already last time had made some plans to, declare war on the Benelux, basically. Try to get them out of the way as early as possible. Because, frankly, we need the extra construction points. So anything we can cheaply get this turn is really, really good. Another interesting thing I'm going to start doing this turn is keeping track of medals and kind of important actions in this book. And the cool thing about this game is that it does have some really interesting ways that you can role play, because it has named divisions, it has named ships, except for carriers and destroyers, but not carriers, cruisers and destroyers. It's a shame that they don't have a couple named cruisers. That would be kind of cool. But with all of the names flying around, it's pretty awesome to think that we could potentially have like a really good story that evolves from our gameplay. And so I'm going to try to keep track of some medals, and every once in a while we'll go through those, and maybe I'll Photoshop up some graphics for them now that I'm back in business on a computer. This game will get more interesting as we get deeper into it. I realized that the first 6 or 7 episodes now have been absolutely painful to watch, but they've been really fun to film, and it got me through basically 2 months without being able to play computer games, and I now really am starting to get into this game. And really, surprisingly enough to me, what is really interesting me about the game is the potential for the naval battles. I really am regretting that I chose the European theater. Obviously, I wanted to play a World War II East Front game. Essentially, I wanted Hearts of Iron as a board game. I've talked about that before. But that said, I think the naval system in this game is actually pretty cool. But anyway, on to the player turn. So we've already rolled all of our diplomatic stuff. There wasn't too much to worry about there. We did our oil and BRP adjustments. We did add in our BRPs for Poland last turn. So now we're on stage 3, which is declarations of war. And this is the important thing. On turn 1, we were restricted. We could not declare war on anyone except for Poland and the Allies. We start the game at war with the Allies and at war with Poland. But we could not declare war on easy countries like Denmark, for example. Now, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that Denmark instantly surrenders If Germany declares war on Denmark, Denmark does not resist German occupation, and all Danish hexes are deemed to have been controlled and fully supplied by Germany from the start of the Axis player turn in which it is declared war. Okay, Denmark is ours. Well, send over telegram. Telegram! Hey, Denmark, guess what? Part of Nazi Germany now. Welcome to the fold. We don't really need to occupy it, but we will, because the nice thing about Denmark is that I believe you can, well, maybe not. I thought it might connect to Norway via some sort of passageway, but it doesn't look that way. So we're gonna have to naval invade Norway, which is gonna be a bit of a pain in the butt if I'm perfectly honest. So we won't be able to do that this turn. I want to wait for the Bismarck to come out before we do that. I want at least a couple more battleships, really. But I'll make do with one, especially if we can get the pocket battleships back into the fold this turn without them being intercepted. That would be amazing. I really regret risking them for the raiding. I want them for naval invasions. So Denmark is ours. Great. Now on to the Benelux. Benelux, probably not quite as easy. I do have to record that expenditure of BRPs. That means our combined total for this turn is 30 for declarations of war. Okay, so I think that's all we can do declaration of war wise. Now what we want to do is fight the bloody wars, aka the war game part of the game. And I think that the critical thing for us right away is going to be repositioning our forces from Poland over to the border of Netherlands and Belgium. Now that hex that was captured by the French is actually kind of annoying, because it means that occupying Luxembourg will actually be kind of a pain in the ass. I mean, we might as well just try to push through Luxembourg and keep going and try to like encircle the Maginot. All right, so you can kind of see that our troops are all spread out in Poland, and we really need to prioritize getting them back over into slightly more useful positions, because obviously they're not going to do a whole lot of good to us if they're not there. I believe one of the interesting things we could do is we could voluntarily delete a few units off this side and then rebuild them for double the BRP cost in the same turn. So that's definitely an option, and I think I'm going to do that at least for our damaged units here, because they'll be more useful at full strength anyways. So if I delete these two, I'll be able to redeploy them anywhere I want. Infantry. And that means we could just move those right up to the front line because they're just getting rebuilt. There's no restrictions on where you can place stuff within your own country. So I want to perform the breakthrough with infantry. That's critical. And then be able to back it up with tanks. So here I have a tank here, but I want more infantry, and I definitely want more air. So one thing we could do with our air is we can restage it. So we staged our air. Then we would want to fly our counter air missions, which would, I guess, just be against the British air, right?
Because, I mean, do we even have to worry about them? Okay, so I think what's going to happen here is we're going to try a breakthrough without, if we do it without doing counter air, they're going to be able to throw their air into the fight, which is not really what we want. What we want is for our air superiority missions to just wipe out their air force, and then they can't really have an impact. So I guess that's what we would want to do. We'll roll the Germans first. Oh, I guess what I'm doing is I'm gonna counter air with 9 air factors against their 5. I think that would give us good enough odds. So the Germans rolled a 3, and they have 9 air factors. So that gives them a 2/2. We knocked out this unit. We basically inverted him, I guess. So we'll invert that unit. I don't think the bomber can really come into this, so I'm not going to have it come in. The Allies rolled a 7, and they had 4 air factors. So their 7 knocks out 1 air factor from me and disrupts 3. So that inverts this and knocks it down by 1. I must look like a buffoon doing this. Feel like a buffoon. And yes, I know I didn't clip the counters, but I also didn't want to do anything else after I had magnetized them all. Because holy God, that took forever. All right, so we do have plenty here. We're just gonna push right through here. So that's 1 movement point used. And then we're gonna hit this N24 hex with quite a bit of force. So we're gonna bring in this guy, I think, at 8 and 6 at 14. Against 4, 14 to 4. So that means we want to do we rolled a 6, beautiful. First lucky roll that the Germans have had, to be honest. So we just completely eliminate that bad boy. And now we can look to move into this hex with an infantry. We could also just attack Brussels here. I think that's a good option. So 7 total defensive factors against our 14 again. And I believe air can fly it second mission. I'm not 100% sure on that. But if they're not disrupted, I don't see why they can't fly a second mission. Although, yeah. I don't see why not. I mean, we rolled a perfect roll, so. Okay. But this time we do have the air combat goes first. So the defensive air support. So we will roll 2 dice for each side. Germans roll an 8. And the Belgians roll a 6. The Belgians have 1 air factor. And so they do eliminate one air factor from the German side, and they do no disruptions. So we're down 1, but that's okay. I'll swap this out with a 3 if I have one, rather than messing around. Meanwhile, the Belgian one is obviously eliminated. So now it's going to be 13 to 6. It's only one die. The Germans roll a 5. So I'm going to eliminate this one, and then we'll hit them again to eliminate the second one. Germans roll a 3 this time, but with absolutely overwhelming odds. A big D, which means that this unit is just completely eliminated. Okay, so Brussels Hussars, Belgium is defeated. Easy peasy. We'll make our attack on the Dutch. So at this point, what we want to do is to attack from the south into here. So I'm moving that guy up to, and we'll attack with these two from the south, as well as 5 air factors. So that gives us a potential total strength of 6 ground and 5 air. So 11 total, which should be more than enough to handle whatever the hell is here. Actually, there's quite a bit here. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe we just want to go right for because this is Rotterdam, right? Oh, the Hague is up there. Okay. So I think we could just blow right up there in retrospect. So maybe we don't need to do it that way. This is pretty lightly held. This is only 4 factors even with the DM. Let's roll it as 1-to-1. That's fair. Got a 4. A 4 is an EX1. Defender loses his entire force. Attacker loses as many factors as the defender, applying the defender's ground unit DM. So if they had 4 before, they would now have 3. So we're going to eliminate the infantry and the air and keep the tank, obviously. But that captures Holland. So Holland is defeated. The Germans lost a weak infantry division, the 33rd Infantry, and a small army air factor. So in the scheme of things, not a huge deal. The 40th Panzer survives and victoriously captures the Hague. So all that setup there with air and everything ended up being useless because I didn't even fly defensive air support. Probably could have. They were obviously in range. That would have made that battle a lot more. I don't think it would have made a huge difference either way, but it would have made that results take out a little bit more tanks. But they're Dutch. They're not the best at fighting. The Orange are no longer. Now, we had used, so this guy was coming from Essen, so he had to use 1, 2, 3 to get here. So he still has 2 movement points, so he could help out on this fight for Calais. So these guys are putting up an 8. So we got 10 against 8. So essentially 1-to-1 odds. Not the best, but what the hell. We'll roll black dice this time. Oh my god, we rolled a 6. So lucky. So that's a little d, which means defender loses half of the defending forces, ignoring DMs. So half of them are dead. We attack again. 3. And this time we're at 10-4 odds, which are 2-1. So a 3 gets us an EX -1 result. So normally he would have a 4, but in this case we only have a 3. So we're going to lose an infantry division, which hurts. But it does mean that we keep our tanks, even though we're fighting a risky, kind of a risky battle there. And we've completely cleared out the north now, which is amazing. And this is actually a pretty good front line. This is going to be very defensible. We'll also move up into Luxembourg itself. And I believe one of the best things that we could do with our forces might be to just try to reinforce this front line and then take out France next turn. See if we can do that. So that's kind of the end of the initial battle here. I mean, we could push on and try to take out Paris itself, but we'd be fighting quite a big battle without much in the way of air. I'm a little hesitant to do that. I think it's better to wait a turn and to take them out next turn. And potentially with the help of the Italians at that point too. The Italians could declare war. The reason that the Italians didn't declare war this time is because I was worried about basically Africa. And once that kicks off, it's going to get very tough very quick for the Italians because the Brits have a lot of stuff in Africa. So that's where we'll leave it this time. Next time we'll clean up the remnants of this action and we will fight maybe 1 or 2 more battles, but basically just trying to clean up the rest of the Axis turn, do our redeployments. Then we'll do the Allied turn, which is going to be pretty minimal, I would imagine, just trying to get a front line back. And from there, we will go on to the Winter War, or the start of the Winter War. So we'll see if anything can happen with the winter results being as they are. We can't really move. So, and the defensive modifiers up there are nuts. So I don't think they have the forces to break through, but they're Russians. They'll figure it out. And obviously next time we might have a naval battle to fight. So that's where we're going. Till next time. See ya.